Hey, okay, so there are a couple of things that I want you guys to know from today. So this is the second video. If you have not seen the first video yet, please stop and go back to that first one and make sure that you watch through and understand dominant, recessive, homozygous, heterozygous, genotype, and phenotype. We've got 6 words there, and those are all really, really important. So diving into this, let's go over these summary questions. Who is the father of genetics and what did he work with to make his discoveries? That was Gregor Mendel, the monk in the 1830s, and he worked with pea plants. And that is important. You will likely see that on any biology or science-related standardized tests. Gregor Mendel is the father of genetics. An allele is a version of a trait. So if the trait is hair color, an allele would be brown hair, black hair, red hair, blonde hair. Dominant and recessive. Dominant is going to be superior or more powerful than the recessive. I think one of my classes earlier was talking about like a dominant or a top dog that's in control of everything else. I love that example. Dominant is in control. It's not going to let anything else through. Recessive is going to be hiding underneath. However, if there is no dominant allele present, then the recessive will show through. Heterozygous means that we have a blend between the two. It is a hybrid. Hetero does mean different, and so we have 2 different alleles. We have a brown allele and a blonde allele. Homozygous is we have 2 of the identical alleles, 2 brown hair alleles, 2 blonde hair alleles. So homo means same. We are looking at 2 of the same alleles within a zygote. Genotype, those are the specific alleles that we're looking at, so like heterozygous, homozygous, dominant, recessive, and phenotype is what we see at the end of the day. It is that physical appearance, it is that picture. And finally, draw a Punnett square between these 2 different genotypes. So we have 2 letters here. We've got capital A and lowercase a. We have a dominant and a recessive. If you go through and do this, first thing we need you to do, and we're going to see how this goes, is you are going to make your box. You're going to take, we've got heterozygous versus heterozygous. You're going to put one A here, the other A there. One A here, the other A there. You're going to bring these alleles down, these alleles over. So you see I'm just like filling this in. Got that allele there. Got that allele there, and then looking at, oh, I've got all of those. So in the end, let's say that the A is over ear shape. So this is attached earlobes, and this is not attached. So we're looking at attached earlobes. I have attached, or not attached earlobes. My earlobes kind of flop down, and attached earlobe is going to be like connecting and kind of go right into the jaw. So I have dominant, dominant, dominant. That means these 3 people over here are going to have the attached earlobe, and this person is going to have the not attached. So if we have 4 boxes, that means I have a 75% attached and 25% are not attached. We can either say 3-to-1 ratio or 75 to 25%. One of them is going to be homozygous dominant. 2 of them is going to be heterozygous, and the last one is homozygous recessive. So let's go over that practice genetics thing that I assigned you guys yesterday. Number 1, we're looking at guinea pigs. Guinea pigs have 2 types of fur color in this problem. We have black fur and we have white fur. Now, once again, I know that the world is much, much more complex, but we're just going to operate with what they are giving us here. Black fur in guinea pigs is dominant over white fur. So black fur is capital B, white fur is recessive, lowercase b. Find the probability of a homozygous cross between these 2 guinea pigs. So we have homozygous dominant crossed homozygous dominant. When we look through this, homozygous dominant versus homozygous dominant, we're going to end up with a Punnett square cross that is all homozygous dominant, meaning all of the guinea pigs are going to be black. So this is 100%. Now it's asking for homozygous offspring. That could include homozygous recessive, but in this case, because we do not have any recessive alleles, we're just looking at the homozygous dominant. Question 2. Black fur in guinea pigs is dominant over white fur. So the probability of a heterozygous crossed with a homozygous recessive. Heterozygous, I'm going to put those alleles up top, and then I'm going to put the homozygous recessive over here. We bring these down, fill them in. Only 25% of them happen to be homozygous recessive. In other words, white, only half of them. So the white offspring is the key term here. We're looking for the white offspring. How many of them? And that's going to be 50%. Question 3. In black fur, guinea pigs is dominant over white fur. Find the probability of a white offspring. So once again, we're looking for a homozygous recessive between two heterozygous guinea pigs. So they did not give you the letters here, but heterozygous means two different. So when we go to that one, we are looking specifically at two heterozygous individuals. Heterozygous, heterozygous, we cross them together. I have homozygous dominant, heterozygous, and one homozygous recessive. So this answer is 25%. Now, number 4, we're moving away from the Punnett square problems. Brown hair. This is an example of a phenotype. Genetics, yeah, that's all playing into this. Alleles, yes, that's playing into this, but brown hair is what you see. That person could be homozygous dominant, or they could be heterozygous. We do not know. So because we don't know their genotype, this is only the phenotype. 5, brown hair is dominant. So capital letters here. The dominant gene can be expressed by homozygous, dominant, so capital B, or heterozygous, capital B, lowercase b. The different allele combinations for an offspring is called the genotype. We are finally getting into the allele combinations. We are looking at the letters themselves. That is a genotype. Okay, number 6. You get one allele from mom, one allele from dad. It's why we have two alleles in every single situation. One of them you got from mom, one of them you got from dad. 7. Which of the following represents a purebred or a true breeding genotype? Ooh, this goes back to that first video. Purebred or true breeding means that it is going to be the same throughout, which is homozygous. We have two options. This has two correct answers. Kind of tricky, not your typical multiple choice. So the capital N's homozygous dominant, the lowercase n's homozygous recessive. 8. Which defines an organism that is homozygous for a trait? So homozygous meaning two of the same alleles. Let's see. Yep, right there. Two of the same alleles. Same. Two of the same genes. That's getting a little bit funkier. That's looking at like hair color, skin color, eye color. Those are all genes. Alleles, we're looking at the variations of one specific thing. 9. Which is the correct expression of a heterozygous genotype for a recessive disorder? So we don't really need to go into recessive genetic disorders right now. All that it's looking for is a heterozygous genotype. So that is going to be this. Heterozygous. Boom. We don't need to read even the rest of that sentence. Heterozygous, that is capital A, lowercase a. 10. A dominant genetic disorder will be expressed if an individual has at least one allele for that disorder. So this is something that we end up seeing in humans sometimes. There's a disorder called Huntington's disease, and by the time the person turns 40, 50 years old, their nervous system is going to actually start to break down. It's really, really sad and really scary, and it's a dominant disorder. So if they have a capital A, they are going to get that disorder. All right, and finally, this is probably the toughest one. I know a lot of us struggled on this. 11. In pea plants, purple is dominant to white. Be careful when you're writing these out. I always have to over-exaggerate these so I know which P is dominant and which P is recessive, because capital P and lowercase b kind of looks the same. Cross a homozygous recessive white flower with a heterozygous purple flower. Okay, so going through. Homozygous recessive, you can see, homozygous recessive with a heterozygous. That's the first thing there. It did not give us those alleles. We had to infer what those are based off of the vocabulary. So homozygous recessive, two of the same, lowercase, heterozygous, two different. We're going to cross those in our Punnett square. So there's my heterozygous, there's my homozygous. When I cross them, I have 50% of the offspring are, and now I'm going to go into here. 50% of them are capital P, lowercase p, and the other half are lowercase p, lowercase p. Now remember, capital P means purple, lowercase p means white. So the phenotype of the offspring, guys, offspring are babies. Phenotype of all the babies, we're going to have some that are purple, and we're going to have some that are white. The percent that will be purple is 50, and the percent that is white is also 50. So those are all of your answers. I hope that you guys stuck through this and that you did okay. I know that this is really tricky with us not being here together and me not being able to give you immediate feedback, but if you do have questions, I am here for you. All you have to do is message me on Schoology. If you do have any questions, message me through there. If you are confused or don't know what to do next, once again, feel free to message me. I hope you guys stay healthy, stay safe, and wash your hands. Have a good day, guys. Bye.